Is. All right, so we're recording. Hi, my name is Cindy Mattingly, and we're going to jump right into the screen share. So today's Magic Monday is all about the practical use of crystal grids. And this first paragraph came straight from the website, so I'm going to just read it again so we know we're all on the same page. Crystal grids can be used to focus and direct energy with amazing results. It's important to understand the function and the purpose of various crystal grids or crystal types and the grid shapes. So I'm going to share how to use a crystal grid to amplify intention and manifest the positive change. And then during this workshop, we're going to break it down and discuss the structure and the function of two types of grids. The first one is to use it to strengthen the outcome of an affirmation or affirmations. And the second one is used to clear and balance the body's energy. So the first one is the affirmation. So that'll go really great with what we did in Magic Monday 2 weeks ago. And if you were here or you've seen the altar one, which was last week, you actually have a place where you could put your grid. So the first piece that you want to consider, and this is where you'll need your, paper or something to make a note, is what is the purpose? I divide purpose into 3 areas. Yourself, what it is for yourself, your immediate environment. This could be your home, your house, that piece of it, your immediate, the people that are in your bubble. That seems to be the current word. And then community. Community can be your town, your state, your country, and it could be also the world. So you want to think about, okay, which area would I like to focus on? So just take a moment, see which one you would like to use during this time together today. So the 3 ways are yourself, your immediate environment, and then the bigger world, whatever that seems to be for yourself. And then I gave a couple of examples. So the self one, you could use the emotional energy of love. And it could be unconditional love. Or you could use the actual structure or physical piece of the thing that we call health. So either one of them you could focus on. Those are just my 2 examples. And you could pick something along it some other way, whatever you want to use. And then in the immediate environment, some examples is harmony. That has an emotional energy to it, or the actual physical structure of home. You want it to feel homey as an example, but it has that, there's a way that a home feels. Maybe you might think of welcoming. So you'll take that moment and say, oh, okay, I've decided I want to use this word. And then the next one is the community. And I've used 2 words here. One is the emotion of peace, the feeling of peace. And then the other is unity. Everybody's working together. The community is pulling together to make ABC happen. So just taking a moment and thinking about what area, yourself, your immediate environment, or the community. And then do you want to use a feeling that you're seeking to amplify? Or would you rather create a physical structure of either health or home or this concept of unity? So just take a moment and write that down. Because what we're wanting to do is we're building the container of how to really make this a very practical, easy, and for you, because we're only on this call for an hour, it will be something you can reproduce anytime you want. Simple and easy. So I want to check in and see if anybody has any questions on that first thing, the purpose. Because some of you were in the affirmations Magic Monday, so you may already have your purpose.
Can you do a sentence about what a crystal grid is?
It focuses the energy, that's basically, and you're using the crystals to do it. I mean, that's any grid, like if you said you had the utilities company, they have a grid and they follow that grid energetically, but they actually structurally on a physical form follow it. And it creates the organization of the utilities company. So that's
okay. So it's like the placement of where these crystals are or their relationship with each other.
well, the grid is the structure or the organization, and you can use anything in a grid. That's why I was using like the utilities company. In this particular case, we're drilling down on what your options are, because a lot of people use a lot of different things. And I think that for me, when I first was introduced to this concept of grids, it was a little overwhelming. So that's why when I do it, I always drill down on it. And then I think, okay, how can I make this as easy as possible for myself so I don't have to bring my books out to do a new grid, to clear a grid. I want to make it simple. And when I ask a client specifically to make a grid around, say, love, they want a love relationship, that's what they're looking for, then we go right down these steps so that they can have that little cheat sheet and they go, okay, what is it that I'm really looking for? Oh, I want, this is all about me. I'm like, good. So being really clear about that makes the purpose of your charging, your amplification, really meaningful, right? Does that help a little bit, Millie?
Especially the last part. So it's not necessarily it's more of your energy going into the crystals almost.
Well, as we go
ahead.
with the form and we talk about that, it'll make even more sense.
Okay.
Because you get to decide how you want your grid to work. By you're like, oh, okay, I want this to be for my community, so I want it to radiate out. Oh, I want this to be for my health. I don't want that radiating out. I want to magnetize that within me.
Yeah. Okay.
So then that would set up your grid a certain way. And I am going to talk about that too.
Okay, I'm good.
Good questions. Okay, everybody else is good? All right, let's go back to the share. Okay, so now we're in location. And location is very similar to what we talked about last week in the altar, is you want to pick an area that is meaningful. So behind me is my altar, but this is my office. So it's an altar very specific around my own practice, my beliefs around spirituality, things of that sort. But I have another altar that is set up in the feng shui corner of my house, and it's all around the love relationship that my husband and I have. So I'm using them in different places for different reasons. So you can have a piece of furniture and it just works. You can have it in your bedroom. If you have, say, for instance, cats or children, you have to be very mindful about where you pick this location, because when you're charging the grid, you don't want someone messing with it or changing it. If you have, say, housekeeping coming into your house to help you keep your house clean, you want to make sure that you tell them. So those are the kinds of considerations about location that you want to put together. And it may depend, the purpose, you may think about, oh, well, I could do the loved one in my bedroom, or I could do the loved one in my office, because it's applicable everywhere. So there's no rules around it. It's more about what is meaningful for you. Now let's get into the patterns. And as I said up here in the description, we're going to do one that's about strengthening the outcome of affirmations. So the shape of your crystal grid that I'm recommending is a triangle. And triangle in the sacred geometry, the 3 is all about, if here I put body, mind, spirit, it's the power of 3. So you might, Mother, Father, God, you can, anything that you have a 3 of, this is really powerful. But since we're talking very specifically around affirmations, affirmations are, you're wanting it to permeate your entire beingness. So this is an absolutely beautiful one, the triangle, as far as a shape. I would totally recommend it. And then I'm just going to walk through these, and I'll stop the share, and then I'll start showing you some of the crystal job that I divide them in, and the crystals themselves. So now going to the body energy and how to balance it, the circle is the one that I would recommend here, because it's new, it's fresh, that's the energy of it. And again, when you do a circle, the idea is you get to choose. You radiate it out or you magnetize it in, whichever way you want to do it. So if it's for your body energy, maybe you've had a lot of stress in your world, then you might want to radiate that out. But if your purpose is about health, you might want to bring that in. So that's where you start being specific will help guide how you set the grid up. So just take a few moments and write down, the fact that we're going to have these crystal jobs, and there are 3 of them. And I'll show you some very specific examples. And that's the crystals that I'm using. I've selected them for their, the type and the quality. So let's go. I'm going to stop the share piece. Okay. Any questions about that at this moment?
Do we have to keep in mind the orientation, or that's not important?
Or orientation as in?
As in the altar, like doesn't matter if it's oriented to the east or north or south or west?
So because you have that information, you can totally use it, right?
Okay.
If you had, I have an intermediate level training in feng shui. So I absolutely use that principle, the Bagua, every single time I do anything that I want energy to be crystal clear, no pun intended. So the orientation, if you know that the east is where the sun comes up and you want new and fresh, and then you also choose the circle, look at what you've just done. You've magnified it just by choosing the direction and choosing the actual shape. That's, for me, I would say that's really juicy. That's awesome. Okay, so let's look at the jobs. I always have 3 components. Oh, we must have lost Mia and she's coming back. There she is. So I have 3 jobs that I use with my crystals and my grid. The first one is the center, a place where you're going to focus the energy. And so the centerpieces you can use, like this is a rose quartz sphere, has a cute little stand. So it's perfect so depending upon the size of your grid, how much space you have available, like this is an oak roll top desk. So I have a long, narrow place. This would probably be perfect, right? Because the space is small. You can also choose a cluster. This is one of my favorites. So why would you pick a cluster? Let's start with the triangle. You have an affirmation, whatever your affirmation is. Why would you maybe pick the cluster? What would be your thought around that? There's no wrong answers, guys, right? What would a cluster do?
Radiate.
That's exactly right, right? In a lot of different directions. Okay. So if your affirmation is of that quality and that's what you want to do with it, here's your center. Or you can use a sphere. So what would a sphere do? Just think about it again. There's not a wrong answer. What would you imagine?
All directions.
Right. You actually can have it do both. The energy can come into it and the energy can radiate out it. And it's balanced. So you have choices. Okay. So if I were picking, what would you pick based on what you do know? If it was a triangle and you wanted to do an affirmation, do you want to radiate it out using a cluster? Or would you rather have a sphere? Which one would serve your purpose?
And it depend on what your affirmation is.
Bingo. You get to decide. And that's, I'm all about, I love people having choices. I love empowering people. So you get to decide, do I want it to radiate out? Or would I prefer that I can do it either way with a sphere? You have choices. Okay, so these are the center. And there are lots of other things that you can put in the center, right? You can put other shapes, you can put other crystals. These are just the ones that I'm bringing to the table today. So now we have a center. You've picked a center. Maybe you have something specific there on your desk. Now what I call them way showers. They're the crystal that tells the energy what's the direction. How am I charging it? What's meaningful? So I have tumbled hematite. Let's see if I can get it up there. It's all shiny. Tumbled hematite. So what would hematite do?
Absorb negative.
Absorb negative. What else does it do? Keep going. Protector, right? Because if it's black, it's also got an iron in it. So it's really solid. So you got, the qualities of that. And that's your way shower. It's like, it's protecting what you're doing. All right. You could also, you might notice I like rose quartz, but these are tumbled rose quartz. So again, you could pick all kinds of tumbled. I have a handful of heart shapes, little heart shapes. You can put those in there. Again, I'm trying to keep it as simple so you have a foundation and then you get to choose. And of course, what's the one thing most of you know I'm going to say? Douse it. Please douse it, muscle test it. What's right for you? That's a really important thing. So you've got this. So now I have these tumbled stones, and then here comes single pointed, terminated clear crystals. I love these. I love clear quartz crystals. So orientation, we'll talk about that in just a moment. So those are the way showers. So you've got, say, a triangle, right? Where are you going to put your rose quartz or hematite? Right? Points. You could put them at the points. Then what are you going to do with these? You're going to point them, right? Take the energy this way. Take the energy this way. Bring the energy in. You get to choose their orientation, and they will do exactly what you set that up for. So your affirmation, your prayer, your purpose will be magnified that way, just by the orientation of your way showers. They're the ones that help the energy move.
Cindy, do your way showers need to be tumbled? I know you said you have points as well, but I just wanted to clarify.
No, I just used them because I have boxes that are like this big, and then they're all got little divisions, and these were the ones that had the biggest piles. Like, I was like, okay, they must be the ones that are supposed to be shared today. So no, you can pick anything you want as long as it feels right and in alignment with your purpose, whatever your purpose is. Okay. These are what I call them. You can call them whatever you want to call them. So, and then the last one is the master. So the master is the one that does the charging. It's the one that starts the process. So you can have, again, here's me with my clear quartz obelisk. That's what this one is. And then I have another one. This is fluorite. And I picked both of these because they stand. So that means that here's your grid sitting on the table, and yet you have this crystal standing tall over. It's starting the process. It's watching what's going on. It's empowering. You have a choice, though. You can also use a single pointed terminate crystal to do the same charge. So you can do whatever feels right. Maybe you don't want to go out and buy a whole bunch. You know, you use what you have because it's all energy anyway. Right? So examples. So let's go through the affirmations. Let's say you have this beautiful affirmation that you've set up, whatever it is, whatever the purpose is, and you've decided, we're going to start with the triangle. You've decided that you want to use the crystal cluster. So you could take your affirmation and put it right underneath the crystal cluster. And then what happens to the energy of your affirmation? It radiates out into the world. Fantastic, right? That's, oh, you're like, okay, check that box. I got the right center. Now you're like, okay, my affirmation is about home, my immediate environment. This is, and I really want harmony. I want that feeling of harmony. So these are your thought process. I'm just echoing whatever comes to my own mind. But one of the things about home that feels really important to me is I want to protect it. I don't want people to come in and be disrespectful. I really want to protect home. So I'm going to use hematite. And I'm going to do, so now I've got my affirmation. I'm using a triangle. I've got my cluster in the center. And now I've decided that I'm going to use the hematite at the 3 corners, right? I mean, the 3 points. Okay. Now, I'm looking at the harmony. I'm thinking about that. What do I want to do with this? What do I want to do with my quartz? What would you think? Remember, there's no wrong answer.
Pointed from the cluster towards the 3 points.
Absolutely. So you're literally magnifying that radiating out. Does that make sense to everybody?
Cindy, just a quick question. I might be overthinking this. So if you point the single point from the affirmation to the hematite and you're radiating out to magnify, if you then turned the point from the hematite back to the affirmation, would you be pulling in protection, like more protection?
Here's the thing. You get to decide
Okay.
how the energy flows, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You can also just have this pointing to the next hematite, and you're placing it in the line of the triangle.
Mm.
Does that make sense to you? So then what you've done is you've created a container of protection around home. No one gets in, no one gets out unless you say it is so. And you've set your intention and it is done. And that that means that you have set up this beautiful container for harmony in your home. It's a beautiful, safe, so you're looking at what does that really mean to me? And that's the key. Crystals magnify whatever you put energetically in there, right? You hold it and you say, I'm going to fill you with Reiki. Then it is so. One of the things that I learned in training with crystals is if you're having a bad day, don't pick up a crystal. Because what is it going to do? It's going to magnify that which is what's happening right now. Yeah. I'll go do my clearings. I'll do just more meditation. I'll go take a good bath or a scrub, clear it all out, and then pick up my crystals, right? So you want to pay attention to that. Okay. So that's the triangle one. So now let's take a look at setting up the one for the body, clearing the body energy. So I'm recommending a circle. So think about, okay, I've got a circle, I'm body energy, and do I want the cluster or do I want the sphere? So I would probably pick the sphere, just again, because circle and sphere, they kind of go together. They're all new and fresh, and the energy's balanced because it's a sphere, things of that sort. This is my thinking. You may have a different relationship with that same idea. That's all good. You may decide you want to, I'm going to get off this, call, and I'm going to investigate the sacred geometry of a circle. And then you're going to find your meaning. And that's the key that's most important, right? So we're going to say that I'm doing this for the body energy, and I've decided I'm going to put this in the center. And of course, I want to put more rose quartz because again, it's about my body. So I'm going to use the rose quartz, and yet I'm using it around a circle. So I can place as many rose quartz around my sphere as I have, right? I can make it like a chain total. I can build a beautiful, one next to the other, or I can put space. I can do the space and it's a circle, and I can make these touch. I can give them space. So you get to set the intention of that energy of the way shower piece. So you've got your center. Now you get to design your way showers. What would you do? I'm picking the crystals. So I've got my single pointed terminated, and I've got more rose quartz. What can I do to magnify, to amplify the body energy balance? What would you do? I know everybody is thinking something. That I can feel. What would you do?
Can we
Do
use the single pointing clear crystals to go up?
As in standing?
Yes.
Well, first you want to get your grid put together before you use your master, right?
Okay.
So I would be looking at how are you building this grid? Do you want to connect all the dots is my idea. You're connecting the dots. Maybe you do a ring of rose quartz and
So
they're all connected.
Okay, so can we put a rose quartz and then for a single pointing, like alternate? Can we do that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because it's going to charge it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have Reiki, if that's something that you have in your skill set, you can charge these quartz with Reiki and then put them in your grid.
Yeah, I was thinking that maybe you have your, like outer circle and then you build another circle inside.
This
Kind of like the chakra symbol, where
You got it. This is why if you look up crystal grid, like forms and things of that sort, there are hundreds of them because somebody has taken the time to design the grids that mean something to them. So you can look up, I have some actual maps of grids, and those are great. But I am really into, okay, step one, what am I going to do? Step two, where am I going to put it? Step three, what do I want to do with it? Oh, I want to amplify my body energy balance. Okay, let me do this. So if you're having a stressful situation in your world, and this is why you want to balance your energy, you put your center one, right? We've decided, I picked the rose quartz sphere. Then we did a ring, maybe, of rose quartz. And then you could take the single pointed ones and put them outside of the entire circle and make another circle, right? But the energy is pointing out to balance the energy of the stress, right? You're letting it go and you're amplifying it. So the intention of what you want to do, that initial purpose is what's going to drive, oh, I really like this. And that means this to me. Because in feng shui, for instance, it is not about, some of them will have rules, like the bagua is a map, but the meaning of the thing that you use, it's up to you. This particular picture, this particular stone, fluorite. What does fluorite do? breaks through obstacles. Where might you use this as a charge, right? This is a master crystal. Affirmations, right? That would be a great one for us. You know, you want to break through whatever the obstacles are to that, but maybe you also want to use it on your balancing your body energy. Okay, so any questions around the shape, triangle, circle, and then the option of your 3 crystals, right? You have a centerpiece. I am going to talk about the charging piece, the master crystals row, but I want to make sure I haven't gone too far, too fast. Misty?
Square or rectangular? Would that be good shapes?
You can absolutely use them. What you want to do is look at the sacred geometry around what does that mean.
Okay.
That's the key. You know, because the more complex the shape gets, the more the energy is informed in a certain way. Sacred geometry is its own, you know, thing, right? And it can be very complex. It's like talking another language, right? So everyone's good with that? Okay. So now let's go to that last bit. It had amplification. And then I put, is it daily? I put affirmations and prayers, and then I put charging. So that's going to be, what's your intention? So in my altar here, where my grid is set up, I charge it every day. So that one. But the one that's upstairs in my love relationship area, I set it up, but I don't charge it every day because it's set up in the feng shui and it's informing my love relationship. And I will go, you know, whenever it calls me, whenever I hear the crystals talking, I'm like, hey, how's everybody doing? Do you need anything? Do we need to change out stuff? No, it's been that way. We've been here almost 4 years. As soon as I set it up, it was very happy. So I'm glad, but I do check in on it so that I don't need to do that one daily, because the affirmation that I set it up for is I wanted to magnify the balance and love, healthy, all those words. You know, I put all those words into when I was setting it up, and every object I touched, I was like, okay, this is all about this. Love, relationship, balancing, working together, collaboration, all those wonderful words. And then charging. So if we used this particular one, the idea would be you're going to I shouldn't say always, but I start in the center. So I'm taking this crystal, the master crystal, I'm pointing it over the center, and then I'm bringing that energy into those other formations, right? If I've got a circle or that, so I take it up, let's say it's the triangle. I take it up to the point, and now I'm going to follow that pattern. Now, the way you can take it up to the other level, you know, amplify it even more, is maybe you have your affirmation. Maybe you're memorized it, and you can just repeat your affirmation. And you just take it around, because what you're doing is bringing that energy around your grid to empower your affirmation. So then you're using this, and then once you've done it, let's again 3 times, you can just set it down. Same thing works for this one. Or if you choose to use the one that like a single pointed terminated one that's laying down, that works too. Or you can use a wand. So you get to pick what you feel works for you the most, because when I do my charging, I get excited. Like last week, sharing my altar, the week before sharing the affirmations. For me, that was so much fun. So questions.
Is the master staying with the grid? It stays with the grid. Where? Where is the place in the grid?
I'm right-handed, so that's where I'm going to pick it up. So I usually put it on the right side. If you're left-handed, you put it on the left side. I don't want to be reaching across the grid, disrupting the energy, right?
Okay, so it's just included in the grid, but it doesn't have a specific
No,
place, but don't go over the grid. Okay.
you get to pick that. You get to decide how this sacred object, grid, affirmation is empowered. You get to decide that. You know, I was cleaning my office and my husband was helping me. And so he started picking up objects on my altar. I was like, okay. No, thank you. I was trying not to go, but that's the way I felt, right? He had no idea because that's not the way his world works. He owns a software company, guys. It's like, so you want to think about who's coming in and around, what's going to be done, and how do you want to show this energy that you really mean it, that you're being respectful. It's all about that kind of thing. You get to choose your words. You get to choose your intention. You get to choose your objects. I love that. I don't like being told what to do.
Who does?
Well, some people like you to give them the directions. I want to do step 1, and then I want to do step 2, and then I want to be and I'm like, okay, well, that's good. I can give those to you, but it's more fun in the discovery because then it's yours. It's really that authentic. It's an authentic thing that's just yours, and you created it. And you can't really buy that in a bottle. So.
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you douse it to see if you need to charge it?
Yes, you could totally do that. I mean, charging is energy. When you're working with energy, the best thing you can do with it is that repetitive so that you build an energetic pathway. And it's the reason why any of the energy like Reiki, the best thing you can do is do it, at least start with a 21-day cleanse, because you're building that energy in your system and your system then recognizes it. And if you do the class and then you don't do anything with it, then you don't build that energy that in you. It doesn't work with your life force. It doesn't work with your spirituality. And that's really what we're doing all this for, right? We want to, well, I want to have my spirituality, my juice, my life force to be sparkly and to be happy. That's ultimately why we're all doing this, right? We want to be happy. We want to have a complete life. We want to, you can't do that wrong as long as your intention's there, right? Yeah. Sparkly is one of my favorites. Yeah. So any other questions? Was it helpful?
I have, of course, I have another question. Does it matter? What's more important, the shape of the grid or the specific attributes of each of the?
There's no, yeah, each one's equally weighted. It's really, again, you go back to your intention. If you follow the handout and you go, okay, I'm going to pick myself, and then I'm going to pick a feeling that I want to have. So now you've got step one done. There's your purpose. And then you can write your sentence in the affirmation steps, right? Now, where am I going to put it? These are all the practical decisions. Now you're ready to go, okay, can I just listen to spirit and energy and come up with a shape that feels right? And then douse it.
Yeah.
Right? Muscle test it, whatever your technique is about confirming your intuition. So you can't do it wrong, which is good. Right?
Cindy, I think I know the answer to this, but for the sake of question and possibly overthinking, is there the potential to overdo it with the types of crystals you have in your grid? Like maybe you need a couple grids. Do you know what I mean? Like variety, should you keep it simpler? Is there anything to that, or is that also intention?
So I'm going to actually ask you the question back.
Yeah.
What do you think the answer is?
In this very moment, simple.
And what does simple create energetically?
Clear. Yeah.
What is your desire?
Mm-hmm.
If you have an affirmation or you want to clear your energy, what do you want to do with it? You want it to be clear. You want it to be simple. You want the energy, what is it that the saying is, Yoda says do or do not, there is no try. And it's kind of that idea. If you want to set up a grid, well, then do the energy clear. Do yourself a service. And you can use anything you want, your heart's desire, you can play with it, but douse it, muscle test it, get a confirmation. I mean, I have actually in my house, I counted, I didn't count that last week, but I have 4 grids in my house. So, and each one of them has a different purpose. Yeah, so you get to pick, but you want to start simple. Some of my clients have 3 and 4, because they're trying to manifest. Maybe they're wanting to do a transitional change in their life. Maybe they're wanting to manifest a relationship and they really want that because they're maybe older. Everybody has their focus and what's meaningful. Good question. Anybody else?
Just curious, I did not take the affirmation class, but when placing in the center, do you, again, I guess it kind of goes with Jane's question, but if the purpose is for self and like the environment, do you think that's too much to do that as your affirmation? Or again, is that something you would separate?
What do you mean by environment? You mean like home?
Home. Mm-hmm.
I would absolutely separate them.
Separate. Okay.
I would. Yeah.
So you could essentially have 3 grids where you do one for yourself, your immediate environment, and your community.
Totally.
Okay.
Or you could say, set up a grid and it is all about peace. And that's the energy you want in yourself, in your home, and in your environment. I mean, in your community. So it really depends upon, you could keep it really simple. So you have choices, but maybe when you start, you may keep it separate. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, you know what I really want? I want to feel love. I want love in myself. I want love in my home. And everyone that I interact with, I want them to know and feel love everywhere, in every community, throughout the world. You get to decide those things. So good question. That was great.
Okay, one last question. Can you do grids for someone else? Like, can I do affirmations for my son or my husband and try to balance them out? Or is that an energetic, like,
I think you
involvement
just
in it?
answered your question right there.
Okay.
I'm going to balance them out. Does that,
I mean, is that something that you would like wish like do for individuals, or would that be like a grid for your family for health or like balance that way?
so, family would fit into your immediate, right,
Okay.
environment. And maybe your overarching thing is that you want to have collaboration.
Hmm.
Maybe that's the thing. Okay. So then that you could do that for the family. You want to foster that energy. But this is not in this class, but there's a lot around permission.
Hmm.
You want to be really mindful. I have lots of clients who ask me to work on their children or their mother or no, because the person has an agenda.
Hmm.
I don't want to.
And I say it jokingly because I know there's like the karma with and you got to have permission. But I was thinking like along the lines like, is there a line that you cross if you're asking for like health or like comfort or like balance, like collaboration, like you said? So it sounds like that's.
So what you're looking for is this overarching energy that would be informing everybody and would be to the benefit of the entire group. It's not personalized.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you need balance, honey, and the son needs blah, blah, blah. No, everybody needs balance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what mine's all about, maybe, or collaboration, or that everyone feels and knows love, or everyone feels and knows joy. And joy may look like a nice quiet dinner, right? Or your child picks up their toys and you do the dance, right? Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
This was very helpful. I love this. Thank you.
Oh, good. Yes, Valerica.
I do have one more question. Does it matter if I set up the grid on a blank piece of paper like white, or a colored piece of paper, or a fabric that might have already some shapes and colors?
So because I know you're an energy practitioner, what would be the answer?
That was it.
Yes. And what else?
And I know the colors are important too. Yes.
That's right.
And
So
maybe if I have a fabric that has triangles and now I'm setting the grid up as a sphere, circle, then they just gonna, well, what's going on here, right?
or they could be magnifying things in a different way.
Mm.
You could bring that energy together. Sacred geometry is a beautiful energy. So you could be asking them to work together,
Mm-hmm.
bring in a new, fresh for my mind, body, and spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Just again, it's that clear intention.
Okay,
Yeah, good question.
cool. Thank you.
You're very welcome, everybody. It was lovely.
It was, yes.
Thank you.
Very.
Yeah, this is great. Thanks.
You're very welcome. I'll see some of you next week. We're starting our month of animals. So
Did you send out the email? Because I don't recall seeing it.
I
You did?
think it went out. Let me just stop the thing. Yes.